In this unit, we are going to discuss rhetorical analysis. And to start the unit, I wanted to provide some definitions for you. First of all, a rhetorical analysis addresses the effectiveness of a text in delivering its message. If we look at a definition for rhetoric, which comes from Merriam-Webster, we see that rhetoric is the art of speaking or writing effectively. It includes the study of principles and rules of composition formulated by critics of ancient times, the study of writing or speaking as a means of communication or persuasion, skill in the effective use of speech. So when we write a rhetorical analysis, what we are doing is addressing the principles and rules of composition, the rules of writing and speaking as a means of communication, the effectiveness of those means in persuading the reader, the audience. I want you to notice as we go through that I have provided bibliographical citations. And this is important because you're going to be providing bibliographical citations for your rhetorical analysis, for the text that you analyze, and for any other source material that you use. There will be a limited number of forms, but I want you to begin by looking at this one. Notice that, first of all, it begins with the word that was defined. I give you the source, Merriam-Webster, because it was online. I give you the website. I give you Encyclopedia Britannica because they are the sponsoring agent of this site. I tell you when the site was updated based on the information there, that the definition came from the web, and when I accessed that information. This is the form for a citation for a definition from an encyclopedia or a dictionary. The rules of rhetoric were developed long ago in ancient times. Aristotle was one of the individuals who addressed the specifics of persuasion and defined a rhetorician as someone who is always able to see what is persuasive. Notice that this author gives the source of that definition. Rhetoric is the ability to see what is persuasive in every case. And according to Aristotle, a rhetorician can discover how to be persuasive, even though he may not, or she may not, convince everyone. Notice that I have put the name of the author of this text in parentheses because this is a block quotation, 4 or more lines. The citation goes outside the closing period. Notice below that I have the citation, the author's name in inverse order, the title of the article, Aristotle's Rhetoric. It came from the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, which was updated in the spring of 2010. There is an editor to the website. The information came from the web and the date of access. Here I provided the URL for the information so that you could go to it easily, but that information is not required as a part of the bibliographical citation. One of the things that Aristotle identified with regard to persuasion were 3 types of appeals that we use to persuade people: ethos, pathos, and logos. They are italicized because they are Greek. If we translate them, we could say reliability or credibility, emotion, and logic. Ethos is appeal that relies on the character of the person who is making the argument or an authority that they reference. Pathos is an emotional appeal. It moves your audience by getting in touch with what they value. The Hacker and Summers text refers to that as common ground. The rational appeal is the truth of the word, at least as we understand it. Again, notice that I have provided a bibliographical citation. I included the author's last name, at the end of the information. And again, because it is a block quotation, it does not come before a period. Notice I give you the name of the author, the title, Rhetorical Principles, the fact that this came from a course at a university. It was updated in May of 2009, and I accessed it in December of 2012. Here at the website, Mr. Depew defines terms related to rhetoric. He addresses ideas that apply both to oratory, public speaking, and writing. A little adjustment there. Mr. Depew defines these terms. He also talks about how when we write, we arrange things in a particular order, that we use specific words, figures of speech, and applying the rules of rhetoric to oratory or public speaking, he addresses memory and delivery. And then there are additional resources at this website for writers and instructors, including links to academic journals. Again, notice that there is a parenthetical citation and then there is a bibliographical citation to tell you where the information came from. The last definition I want us to look at is historical context, and that is the political, social, cultural, and economic environment related to the historical moments, events, and trends at the time that the text was written. This definition notes that information is created within certain conditions or context. Think about the context of the arguments that you have read and summarized. Daly's argument about Facebook friends is presented in an electronic age with social networking options. Clark's argument about anxiety is within the context of cultural responses to anxiety, and specifically the cultural responses that our culture in America has to anxiety. Specifically, how we treat genders relative to anxiety. And then finally, Turnbow's argument about the responsibility of pharmaceutical companies comes in the context of a world with economic disparity, as well as a world in which decisions are sometimes based on profit motive. Rodenberg's article, which is at the beginning of the chapter on rhetorical analysis about the Keep America Beautiful campaign, addressed the attitudes toward environmental awareness in a time that was viewed very differently. Historical context is the environment in which the text is created, and that information has import because it lets us see things in context rather than in a vacuum. The situation often helps us to understand the text and how effective the author is in persuading the audience. So for this unit, we are going to be looking at how effectively a text delivers its message. We're going to consider how effectively the author uses the appeals of ethos, pathos, and logos. And we're going to take into consideration the historical context of the text that we are analyzing. So moving to your textbook, the purpose of the rhetorical analysis is to determine how and why texts are or are not influential or effective. The objective is to show why, through the use of specific appeals or language, the text is effective or persuasive. And it also allows us to learn not only how writers and speakers sway others, including us, but how we can be more persuasive writers and speakers ourselves.